the idea though that it would be the first thing in the movie, and it was such a fantastic promotional tool. I mean, it just couldn't miss. And Rocky was really, really popular. Rocky 3 was anticipated to come out, and I went to the theater and sat down and watched the movie. And when when the song came on at the beginning, after people clapped for just for the opening scene of the movie. So it was pretty amazing. I knew we had something, kind of special going on there.
Now I think we've got a connection with Jay Izzo. Jay, can you hear me, my friend?
I did, and I've been listening to Dave, who I'm a big fan of, by the way.
Hi, Jay.
Hi, Dave. How are you? I love your latest cut, Hope, from Darklight, actually.
Oh, thank you. I very much appreciate that. Yeah, it's I'm excited about my solo effort there. It took me a little while to do it, but I think it turned out really good.
Yeah, I've listened to it several times. I'm really enjoying the cut that you've put out there. So, Dave, I got to ask you a question. I know you're talking about this particular. I mean, first of all, if they did a Rocky 14, people would still be going.
And they'd still be playing that song, my friend.
And by the way, they'd still be playing your song. So, I mean, dude, you live in infamy on a number of different levels there.
Yeah.
For sure. So let's talk about now. My understanding is Stallone approached you guys. Is that correct?
Yeah, he did. Well, first he approached Tony Scotti because we were on Scotti Brothers, records at that time, distributed by Epic, and he was talking to him, and he said, I want something, I want a band, I want a rock band to make that song for me. Originally it had the placeholder there was another one, Bites the Dust, the Queen song,
right.
But they wouldn't grant the rights to it. And he didn't really think that maybe that was quite it either. As far as it's a great song, but he wanted something, written for it. And so when he listened to our second album, Premonition, and he liked that, so he said, ask these guys if they can, write me a song. And so we did. And the songwriters, that was Peter, Rick, and Sullivan who wrote the song. And they went into a room and worked on it. Then we went into the studio, and I had never heard it before. We went to record it. I'd never heard it. We'd never rehearsed it. We just put it together that day in the studio.
Wow. And, so this wasn't something you guys collaborated on for a super period of a long time.
No, it was real fast because
this iconic song, you guys it's amazing that this iconic song, you guys just kind of threw it together.
Right.
Yeah, kind of.
Absolutely amazing.
They did have a little film. They had some film to look at, so they were able to draw a little bit from that.
So okay, so now here's your claim to fame that is nowhere, right? So your beat out Queen, Another One Bites the Dust. So you've got to put that somewhere out. Queen was a placeholder, and by the way, that's probably the only time that any of us will ever be able to say, yeah, by the way, Queen was a placeholder.
Yeah, I that's weird to me because I look at Queen and
right.
Yeah,
right.
That was when I remember when I first heard Bohemian Rhapsody on the radio. It was one of those moments, you never forget where you are. It was just like, what the hell is that?
Well, right, right, because you guys put that out the same time they put out the Game album. Pretty much, it was pretty close in there, and you guys came a little bit after the Game album was out, and then your song takes Another One Bites the Dust, which was a huge song, was a huge hit, but it takes it out. You guys take it. You guys literally pull a Rocky and come from nowhere.
That's fantastic. See, Dave. This is why before we got on the air, I said that Jay Izzo is the man because of stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
So when did you, what came first? This is one of those questions that I always ask musicians, especially people like you. And what comes first? It's kind of I got to assume it's a chicken or egg problem. Writing the lyric or writing the music? When you especially the song.
Yeah, for me, for my stuff, for my music, it's almost always some piece of music, some bit of music, some musical thing that interests, just fooling around on a guitar or playing a piano, something that sounds cool, and then that sparks something else, and the door cracks open a little bit, and then some melody, and then and get those two things in place, and then somehow that suggests something to me lyrically, and I try to come up with something that seems to fit that, that fits that music, and that's how it goes for me. Almost always. Once in a while, I'll get a phrase in my head with words to it. Once in a while, sometimes it's the opposite.
It's the opposite. So when it came to Eye of the Tiger, what do you know? Do you remember what came first?
Well, I don't, because those guys they were closeted away somewhere. They came into the studio with the song and taught it to me that afternoon. We were at CRC in Chicago,
right.
And we cut the track, and and I sang the vocal, and it's like I thought it had this real cool swing to it, a nice open big sound. And I thought it was cool. I thought, hey, this is pretty good.
Well, it's got that the iconic guitar drum riff, right? That just drives it from the very beginning, and it's iconic because you I mean, if you ever on a game show and go, I can name the song in 3 notes. You can actually name, Eye of the Tiger in 2, maybe.
I believe it. Yeah. Dot, dot, dot,
yeah. Right. Yeah. I mean, you can, right? Because it
maybe it's 3.
maybe it's 3. But I mean, it's like it's an iconic opening, and so the song is iconic. And I want to talk about you though for a little bit, because you have an amazingly interesting career. And I just thought it was fascinating the more I learned about you and the more I read about you, just from the first time that you were watching the Ed Sullivan Show and watching the Beatles, it was kind of like put you on a track to, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, period, but I was a little unsure about singing, but I thought maybe I could sing. I didn't. I was in the band I was in. Then we had one of the other guys, my old buddy Phil Cabrera. He was the singer, and he, that wasn't going to be his career, that's for sure. But I was singing background parts, and the guys one day the guy said, "Hey, Dave, maybe why don't you try singing this song?" And that's when Phil got demoted that day.
Yeah. Again, it seems like this is part of your career. You just, somebody gets out of the way and you step up and take care of it.
And hit it out of the park.
We were just a bunch of kids, We were just a bunch of kids.
Right. So then you were doing, you also were doing jingles before you were on with the Massacre, and which is.
Well, it was during that. It was like it came out of the Massacre because like I said, the bass player's dad worked for J. Walter Thompson, and he was a really nice guy, but he thought maybe I had the chops to do that, and it was just the right time too, because music was starting to popular music was starting to infiltrate this jingle business. It used to be very it was one thing, it was kind of a thing from the 50s, right, and then all of a sudden it was rock and roll was intruding into advertising.
Yeah, I'm a guy who listens to a lot of old time radio from back in the 30s, 40s, 50s.
I like that.
And
I like old time radio.
I do too. And the jingles were priceless, right? And it was all these cigarette jingles, by the way. I mean, everybody.
Yeah.
Every cigarette. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Or
awesome.
Smoke L&M's. Right. I mean, it was like.
Take a puff. It's springtime.
That's awesome.
That's real, by the way.
Yeah,
that's
that's amazing that is a real thing.
It is.
Salem, I think it was Salem cigarette. Salem, take a puff. It's springtime.
Yes. Yeah, it's springtime, right? And Winston had their jingle with was kind of some like a cowboy trail song, that they.
The Marlboro Man, right? Too.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was the rugged guy,
Right. And then in the 70s, right, things start to flip over, and we start to hear some rock jingles. Right, Barry Manilow wrote, of course, a number of jingles during that time, but I mean, then all of a sudden we start hearing some rock jingles in the late 70s, early 80s.
Yes, it started, like I said, to infiltrate the jingle world. Of course, it starts to reflect pop culture, right? That's natural. That's going to happen. And now the upheaval in music was astounding, right? The changes going on. It was like 1 week it was Bobby Darin, and the next week it was the Beatles, and that was it. And then it was the Who and Led Zeppelin, and
right.
and all that.
So what do you remember? What was the first jingle you ever sang?
I don't remember the first one. Like I said, I remember the one, and it's funny about that too, about jingles, because I for some reason I had some sort of protection circuit in my mind about those things, because I would do a commercial, walk out of the studio, and for the life of me not be able to remember anything about it. You know what I mean? I couldn't remember the melody, and I was real good at remembering melodies, but I just would walk on and go, gee, I can't remember that thing at all, because it was just something to do, for a livelihood, to get some money, because I wanted to be in a band, and I wanted to have my songs on the radio. That's what I wanted to do.
Right, but it was putting gas in your car, and it was getting you a pizza now and then, right?
It made it so I didn't have to work some kind of construction job. Although I did stuff like that, but I mean, it provided me with enough money to live and pursue music kind of more full time.
Right. So this was all happening in Chicago, though, right?
Yeah, Chicago. Yeah, Universal Studios downtown.
Yeah, downtown Universal. I was because I'm Chicago is one of my favorite cities. By the way, I love Chicago for a variety of reasons. But people do underestimate the food in Chicago. The food in Chicago is unfreaking believable. Oh. And if anybody
the pizza there is the best.
Oh, Gino's. Got to go to Gino's.
Gino's Pizza.
I made the mistake. I made the mistake. Seriously, Dave, I made the mistake going to Gino's. And I had never been there, and I was just my wife and I, and she's little. I'm like 6'5", and I go, oh, I'm like going, oh, I'm kind of hungry. And the guy looks at me and he goes, seriously, you're going to want a small? And I go, come on, give me a medium. That thing came out. It was about 3 inches thick. It looked like a lasagna, a pizza. And
deep dish pizza, man.
One piece, you were done. Beautiful city. And I know that while you were there, you were, of course, developing the band and you were developing your chops and doing all those sort of things. When you finally got to Survivor, right, which is in 1978, I think is when you first got to Survivor.
Yeah.
And then you were with them. The first stint you were with them was from 78 to 83. When you were with Survivor, did you have any idea when you first joined Frankie and the boys, did you have any idea that the band would eventually become something like that? Or did you think, okay, this is just going to, I'm not sure where this is going to go or where we're going?
No, I mean, I had high hopes. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was real good. It was a real opportunity. It was a big step up. You always try. I always wanted to find, the best possible people to play with. And I was playing with these guys, and they were good, but we were basically, doing, college gigs and playing at frat parties and stuff like that. And so this was, Jim Peterick, and we had a. Had a road crew, people who moved the equipment. I was real impressed with that, because it had always been me up until then.
Right. Yeah. No, I understand.
It was also going to a thing where we were playing all original music. I mean, we weren't going to be playing, we started playing clubs, and it was all original. So that was a big change.
So you stopped playing the covers. I always hear that when you're moving up into the world, the first time in the music world, the first time you go, okay, we're no longer a cover band, you kind of feel, right? And that people are still coming out, right? People are still coming to see you, even though you're not doing covers, right? That you feel like, okay, I think, guys, we got something here.
It's a wondrous thing to be getting up there and playing original music, right? And having people come out to see you. Yeah, you have to make that leap, to make take whatever next steps, you have to do that for sure.
Well, Boston has that song that they sang about that very thing, right? About how it was a famous song that I can't, all of a sudden I dropped the name of it, but how they started, and that, people were still coming to see them, even though they were doing their own stuff, and that people were enjoying the shows. And I think there's something to be said, because now people are not going because they want to hear their favorite song. They're going because they want to hear you.
Yeah, and especially at the time, there weren't records out about it either. It was just kind of word of mouth. People come out to see the band because they'd heard that we were good, and yeah, so it's a big step.
How much bigger? Yeah, how much bigger do you think you would have been if like everything that we have today, right? Because I mean, really, we were still circling vinyl. I mean, I still got vinyl from the '80s, and I think there was even 8-track tapes. I know I had 8-track tapes because I had the Best of the Doobie Brothers in my pickup truck in Nebraska. So
yes, I went through all the evolutions. 8-track tapes and then cassettes.
Right.
And much later CDs. But it was a period after that, after 8-tracks.
But
I remember having to stick a matchbook in my 8-track player so that it would play properly.
Yes, I did it too.
a Lucy transport system on Lucy transport system on that thing.
Oh my gosh, I did that exact same thing. I had that you got the matchbook. That's crazy.
Yeah, you had to get it just right so it would play.
That's hilarious. So what would
hilarious, isn't it?
It is. What do you think it would have been though had you already had CDs and we had EPs? What would have Survivor been then if we had everything that we have today? I know it's a hypothetical and I hate them, but I'm just trying to get us to think a little bit. What do you think it would have been like?
I don't know. I mean, in some ways, nothing's changed. I mean, either you're listening to music that's reproduced. It's recorded somewhere and put together and then put on some medium to play. Now the choices are, a much more, greater, and access is stupendous. But but now it's a different world. There's also so much music out there, from so many different sort of kinds of bands and musical entities. Then it was all, to get to that stage where you could get into a studio and make a record was really, really difficult, to get to do that. You couldn't afford to do it yourself because, recording in multi-track studio, it was just expensive.
I bet the expense on that was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he spent well more than $100,000, $120,000, $130,000 to make a record.
My God.
And so record companies got to put that money up, and take a chance on you. So
that's crazy. All right, so I want to talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but I'm going to do it anyway because I'm in the media, and so I have to do this, right? I'm talking about this. So a lot of people do not know that you were the voice behind Bud Light's Real Men of Genius.
Yeah, the Real Men of Genius. Crazy thing. That was, again, because of my connection with Jingles, I was doing Jingles still in Chicago after I left Survivor, and I knew this guy, Sandy Toronto, who I worked with. He sang Jingles, and then he started his own production company to produce Jingles, and he's a great guitar player too, Sandy. He played with Miles Davis, for God's sake, Sandy did. A killer guitar player. But anyway, so he had Scandal Music, and he called me up and said, yeah, man, the agency, DDB, they're looking for an 80s rock singer. And he said, I laughed, and I mentioned you, and they said, oh, really? Can we get that guy? And and they didn't even know that, but Anheuser-Busch didn't even seem to know that I'd already done commercials for them before.
Oh, my gosh.
And nobody seemed to notice, So anyway, I walked in, and it's like this crazy thing with this weird, the announcer sarcastic guy.
Yeah.
That's Pete Stacker, my buddy Pete Stacker, who, is just a hilarious guy, super talented, voiceover dude. But it was so funny. And so we created my character to be the guy that was, answering his, somebody came. Bob Winter, I think, was the guy's name who came up with the original concept, and it originally was Real American Heroes.
American Heroes until 9/11.
Yeah, and then they
until
changed
9/11.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. I was in New York when that happened, when 9/11, and I remember watching it going, oh, not only that I'm sure that's going to go away. I realized that day. I thought, and luckily somebody. thought up another name that worked. It was a brilliant idea to change it to Real Men of Genius. So it was genius.
It was genius, and I don't know. The listeners may not remember it or have heard it, but seriously, there's this guy Dave does his Real Men of Genius thing.
Real Men of Genius.
Which everybody thought was Richard Marx forever, for whatever reason. Everybody thought you were Richard Marx.
Really, Richard Marx. And it's funny about that, too, because I did some jingles with Richard Marx before he was Richard Marx.
That's
his
fantastic.
Father, Richard Marx's father, Dick Marx, was a huge jingle guy in Chicago. So I did all kinds of commercials. I did a commercial with Richard Marx.
That's hilarious. Because everybody thought, oh yeah, this is Richard Marx, because they didn't release your name, at the beginning of all this, right?
No, well, of course not. They don't. You're an anonymous thing in a commercial.
Right. So
your name.
Right. So Dave does the Real Men of Genius we just heard, and this guy comes on and goes, "Here's to you, Mr. Speedo
Mr.
wearer.
Giant pocket, Mr.
Right.
Mr. Silent Gas Passer."
Yeah. Nothing says I'm sexy than seeing your belly hang over your Speedo. I mean, there's.
And Pete, I've heard many. Nobody can quite imitate the way he does that. It's so funny. It's funny.
I mean, that had to be a lot of fun, though, wasn't it? I mean, it had to be kind of a fun gig.
It was. It was crazy, too, because I did all these jingles. When you come into a jingle session, there's a script. They don't deviate from that script. Not ever. It's like from God, Well, these things, the DDB guys all came in, and we just throw the script out and make shit up. That's what we did.
That's awesome. just making stuff up
like
on the
that.
fly.
I think that's why it was good.
I do, too, because it was organic. It was so organic.
Yeah.
Right?
It sounded like we were making it up.
I mean, but it was funny because, all the different topics that they came up with, and then, of course, you're echoing, the guy, and you hear, and it just gets funnier because it just gets funnier and funnier, and it was hilarious. So, all right, so let's come to today, because I do think we owe you, first of all, you go to davebickler.com, and it's BICLER.com, and you can read Dave's history as well as hear the cut Hope from his latest effort entitled
Which is a phenomenal
Dark Light.
track, by the way, Dave. It is. You can tell you've put a lot of time and effort into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of like it was it finally, I've been recording demos and going and stuff, and I finally decided, my wife is yelling at me, why don't you get this finished, so how am I going to do that? So I knew I needed a drum track, so a friend of mine over at Sony told me about Ryan Hoyle, who was the drummer for Collective Soul, and he toured with Paul Rogers for, several years, and he's got a drum studio. He had a drum studio out there, so I have demos. So I took my demos out there with Ryan, and he cut drum tracks, and they're just awesome. He's an awesome drummer and a great, he's a fanatic about sound and recording drums. So it was just a really fun thing to do. And then I had that, and then a friend of his, Brad Smith, from the guy from Blind Melon, he was hanging about, and so he played bass for me, and it helped me out a lot too with recording all that stuff. And then I ended up back here, so it took this. That's why it took a little time to put it together, just to build it up. And then I got my friend Steven Diacutis at Soundspot Productions, who, I went to his studio, and we started re-recording everything. And he put that, he has that great, punchy, clear, production that he did on the record that I was really, really, really love.
That's awesome. So, the rumor has it, correct this is wrong, the cut is called Hope from Dark Light is the name of the CD. But, or EP, I'm not even sure. Is it EP or CD, or where are we at now? There's 11 tracks on the album. Okay, so it's a CD album. Can we call it an album? Still call it an album?
You can call it an album. You can call it an album, yeah. I think so.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
and there is vinyl. There's vinyl. Because vinyl's made a comeback these days.
Yeah, it's making a huge comeback. So the song Hope, rumor has it, and that you may have said this, I don't know, I just read this, but that Hope is about 9/11.
It is, because I was living there at the time, and it was a shattering thing, of course, for everybody, not just our country, but over the world. It was just this terrible event, just a destructive, horrible thing, and that was my kind of answer to it, because inexplicable, unexplainable, violence, and it just makes no sense, and I tried to make sense of it, and that was the result of it, yeah. But I like Hope a lot, though. Also, I think it's has just a broader general message. I think that in addressing that, trying to address that, so it has just a good message, I think, overall.
Right. No. I agree. I thought the message was because that was not where I was going when I first heard it, and I read it later, right? That's what you said that maybe it was, but I thought
that it is. Yeah, it's true.
So I thought it just had I agree with you. I thought it had a broader message. I thought that it really has an appeal. By the way, we're talking with David Bickler. He was the lead singer of Survivor at least a couple times, on and off. And
three times.
Three times.
In and out of the band.
It just depends on what year you're thinking about. And also, Guy did all sorts of jingles. You might remember him from Real Men of Genius or Real American Heroes. If you were listening to the Bud Light commercials. And we're talking also about his history, and we talked a little bit about the song, the most famous song, and iconic still to this day, "Eye of the Tiger," one of the top 100 best singles ever, and of course won a Grammy for the band as well, for a group. And I forgot to even talk about that, but we'll talk about that a little bit here. But the song, I thought, Hope, had this combination of this dark and then this light. Does that make sense to you? I found myself going, there's this dark edge, and then it was this light, and I kind of went, okay, now are you trying to trick me with the name of your album? Because I'm in the song.
Well, no, I kind of always kind of gravitate to that sort of thing. I mean, I like tension in a song. It's an old principle, and I don't like consciously say I'm going to have this part be tense and then it's going to. But tension and release is a musical concept that's very, very old. But I sort of always gravitate to that, so it tends to creep into a lot of my songs. And of course, it makes perfect sense because it was an awfully dark event,
Right.
But it gets, I like to convey that I do believe on the better angels of our nature. In the end, I am an optimist, and
right.
I have to be. I have to be.
So we didn't talk about this part, and I don't know what your time is with us, but I wanted to talk about this.
Much. On.
So you win a Grammy, right?
Yeah, it's amazing.
For Eye of the Tiger.
That was pretty cool.
Let's talk about that experience. Well, I mean, if it's that cool, Dave, let's talk about the experience for a little bit. What was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think every musician would like to get a Grammy, right? I mean, maybe you can say a lot of things about it. It's like, oh well, it doesn't mean that that's the best of anything or whatever, but it is pretty cool to get a Grammy. If you're a musician, it's pretty cool.
What does it mean to you?
Yeah, it was just again, it was one of those things about sort of my again, all I wanted to do was I wanted to hear my song on the radio. I wanted to be I loved the records that I loved. It was just I thought it was just the end of the world, if you get your song on the radio. So we did. I got that. I got my song on the radio. And then it's sort of a recognition from the industry and your peers, if you will, So that's kind of how it is for me.
So what are we doing now for a tour?
Oh, right now I'm doing I got a show down in Chile. I'm going to be doing on the 20th of May. I'm going to perform Hope and some other songs from the Survivor catalog as well. But that's cool that they're going to let me do that. And I've got another one of those coming up in June, and another one of those coming up in Sweden, in July. Yeah, so I've got a few of those. I did 4 dates in the UK, and that was really fun. I did 4 cities, including London, Nottingham, and then it's the Hard Rock Hell Festival thing that I played at. So that was a good time, and so I'm getting out to play, and I want to get line up some dates in the United States now. Now that the album's out, we're trying to, get the word out, and I hope to go out and tour.
Good for you. So
Real quick, where we're talking about Survivor here, we've got Dave Bickler with us today. We've also got the internet doctor himself, Jay Izzo, which, by the way, before we got you on, Dave kind of chuckled at your name there, Jay. He thought that
I
was
love that internet doctor, man. That's cool.
I'm the only registered trademark in the world, Dave. I'm sorry. I mean, seriously, if it's got an R with a circle around it, it's me. I'm sorry.
I'm gonna tell everybody I talked to the internet doctor.
Listen, I'd rather have been Dr. Johnny Fever. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
All right.
Now, Dave, in what was it, 2017? You performed with some of the Survivor guys at a festival. Tell us a little about this.
2017.
Because according to Wikipedia, you were in Nottingham, in the United Kingdom, and you guys performed "Eye of the Tiger" and.
Yeah, but that was just me. That was me.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
myself doing that. I wasn't with the band because I'm no longer with Survivor anymore. So I'm strictly on my own, and I'm happy to be so. But yeah, that was at Rockingham. That was Rockingham. It's in Nottingham. It's at the University of Nottingham, I think, is what the name of it. It's an event they have on.
What was the crowd reaction like to you?
Hey, they were really good to me. They were really good to me. Yeah, it was really fun. It was a packed house. It was it sounded really good. I had a really good band, and it was a lot of fun.
So. Let me. I'm now. I'm going to go dark on you. Okay, hold on. Are you sitting or standing?
I'm standing. I always pace around when I'm talking.
Okay. All right. I'm going to let you pace. So, saw that Frankie was a little upset with you because he felt that you were utilizing Survivor's name. And
yeah, you could say that. Yeah, you could say that.
Yeah. Right. And. There was a little bit of a suit. Where's that at now?
Oh, it's in progress, and I can't say too much about it because of the nature of it being ongoing, of course. Except that it's extremely unpleasant.
Right. Yeah. I was going to say it's got to be.
It's a first for me. I somebody said to me, "Oh, everybody gets sued." I said, "Well, it's new for me."
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, until you go through it, shut your mouth because you have no idea.
Yeah, right.
Right.
You find out.
Okay, well that's fine.
It's really stressful. It's just and I totally disagree with it. Of course, I don't believe it's true.
I don't believe it's true either. I'm saying that not because I'm interviewing you, but based on what I saw, I'm like going, come on, just move on. You guys got okay. I can say that. All right. So what is the biggest difference between touring now versus touring at the age of 25?
Oh well, I'm a lot better, disciplined. My life is not quite so in such disarray as it was then. Yeah, it was pretty crazy when I was 25. Yeah. So no, it's actually a lot more fun because I really, I really get in. I think I'm singing better than I ever did, and I really enjoy it. I think I enjoy it more, and of course it's really fun to, and I've been well received too. This playing of my original songs, people have received it. Speaking of talking about that concept of playing your own songs for people, that many of them maybe haven't heard them before, but I got a really good reception. So it's really cool.
Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about this whole thing because, when you're 25 and you're touring, you kind of say, look at us. And now, X number of years later, does it change over to, wow, I am so grateful?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that I'm just so grateful that I can still be doing this because it's still the greatest feeling in the world and the most fun feeling in the world to be, with a band in the middle of that, on playing a live set. It's just, it's great. It's always the thing about a band, is that it's a small number of people making a really big sound.
Right. Does Mrs. Bickler travel with you?
Sometimes, if she can. Yes, she will.
Is she? Does
But she's also got a gig. She's an accomplished business person. So she comes when she can.
Right.
And I've got my son too. I have a son. He's 18 years old. He's in college.
Does he got chops like you?
He's got the most incredible voice. It's just beautiful, angelic, incredible. Then he doesn't do anything with it because he's a computer science kid.
Oh, I love that. That's a story, right? Right. I mean, right. It's kind of like you watch, Dad. You watch what happens. All of a sudden, he's going to be sitting behind a computer because I know this one. So he's going to be sitting behind a computer. He's going to look around, and he's going to see that nobody's talking, and he's going to start singing in the middle of whatever he's coding, right? And somebody's going to go, dude, you got to get out of here, and you've got to go sing in a band because you got to stop this. That's what's going to happen.
I'm telling you, he was like 11 years old, and he was in a music school, here in where I live, and they do a performance down at the bitter end, with the kids in this music school, and he sang Pinball Wizard, and I have the video. It's just it's crazy how good it is, and yet he doesn't, but that's okay because the music business is really hard. But I hope at some point in his life, that he does, do something with this because it's a rare gift, it is.
Right, well, this is what I generally learn. I'm as a psychological professional. That's free. This is going to be free to you, Dave. So feel. This is what I find when somebody has one of those talents that are God-given and are rare. What typically happens is somewhere down the road they emerge. They always do, and it's just not in our timing typically. And it's not going to be in his, and it's going to emerge out of nowhere. Because if he's got that kind of talent, then it will come out. It will.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope at some point that he, just explores that because again, it's a rare thing. So, and I think you're right about that. I think you're right.
Yeah, no, I just see it all the time that all of a sudden hidden talents or talents that you don't think you have, and all of a sudden they come out, and then the next thing you know, you're booming because those talents were never supposed to be hidden, but they came out and they emerged at the right time to do that. So, what other songs do you like on Darklight that you're really anxious about releasing?
Well, I think probably the next one that'd be released as a single is a song called "Always You." I think it seems to be it's a real great live song. I've been doing it live, and it goes over really good. I think it's one of those songs that starts off softer and then builds over time. Like that. So it's I kind of like that one. I think it's kind of a radio friendly thing. Right.
So here, again, creating tension.
Yeah, creating tension and then letting it release, and you'll take everybody with you.
Right. I got it. So, tell everybody how they can get a hold of you and what they should be listening for, and what you're, just give us, how we can get in touch with you and how do you like to have people, get in touch with you, those type of things.
Oh yeah, of course. You can go to my website, davebickler.com, anytime to keep up and see what my shows that are coming up. And like you said, you can listen to Hope if you've never heard it before. And then there's my Facebook page. I always get fans coming on my Facebook page, and I always try to everybody I can, I try to answer, that. So you can always reach me there and say hello and, tell me something you want to tell me or ask a question and all that stuff. So, and of course I'm Twittering and Instagramming and doing all the social
Well, and I'll tell you, Dave, you're one of the few musicians over the last few years that we've communicated with on Twitter and have tried to set up this interview on a couple of occasions. So I'm glad we were able to make this work today, and also thanks for being a cool guy, man. Because there's so many of you rock guys that you win a Grammy or whatever, and you become total dicks. You're not one of those guys, so thank you.
Well, thank you for saying so. Like I said, I really mean it. That I'm so grateful because I still love music, man, and I'm so grateful to be able to do it. And I got like a little studio in my house, and it's my favorite thing still to do. Is to just record something,
Dave,
I feel very fortunate.
Dave, I sent you a personal request. So if you see a large man with a
Okay.
cowboy hat, that would be me.
Okay, great.
I would love.
Stop that social media.
I would love to stay in touch with you personally and just chat. And if I can help promote you on some level, that would be great.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. I'd love to talk to you. Anytime at all. Just let me know.
Absolutely.
For sure. Yeah, I'll be watching for you now.
Oh yeah. Listen to the podcast. Yeah, it's called A New Direction. So listen to that too.
Yeah. I can't wait. Yeah.
All right, brother.
Now, Dave. I guess before we let you go, besides the album and tours and everything, what else you got coming out there?
Well, I'm working on the next album now as we speak. I don't want it to take quite as long to make. Now that I've got all the people in place, I found people that I really, really like working with. It's a very smooth process now, and so I've got most of the music written and ready to go. So I'm going to start the process of recording over the course of the spring and summer here.
That's cool. That's
Good
very
stuff.
cool.
Good stuff.
Yeah, I got to get out in front of that, So.
No. Listen, man. When you got momentum, don't stop it.
Plus it's fun. Yeah, I still find recording magical. I still do. I've said this a lot, but it's still a magical thing to me. You record something and you can play it back. I still think that's amazing.
Well, no. Why wouldn't you? I mean, it's your passion.
Yeah. Well. Yeah, and it's and the technology is really good now too. So it's very cool as well.
Isn't that amazing that now the technology is such that you were spending $130,000 to just hopefully get into the studio, and now the technology is just absolutely crazy, amazing. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, no,
you can do it for a fraction of that now because of that technology. Yeah.
Yeah, I just find it fascinating that we can create our own radio station, create our own album, create our own whatever, in our home, and with actually better quality than they did.
Yes.
Right?
It's better quality. It is.
It is. It's significant.
With digital recording, as far as music goes, and for any other medium, like for me, I have a lot of analog gear, on the front end that I record through, and then that's how that gets into the digital world, right?
Well, but you're not. But whoa. Okay, but you're not uncommon for doing that. I heard Joel Walsh say the exact same thing.
Really? Joel Walsh said the same thing I said?
Yeah.
I'm so impressed.
Yeah, no. No, seriously. He talks about that everything gets so digital that he still likes to run the analog through first because everything is so over digitized that he still wants that great guitar riff to sound like the great guitar riff, right?
Yeah.
And boy, does anybody argue with the fact that he knows what he's talking about?
No, there's no way. I would never argue with Joe Walsh on anything.
Joe Walsh on anything.
No, I mean, listen. I mean, ask him about alcohol. Trust me, he knows. I know he knows. But
I know he knows.
Yeah, but he although he's clean and sober from what I understand now. So congratulations.
Yes. Congratulations.
Yeah, but no, he talks about how that he likes the whole analog experience instead of having everything so over digitized. So clearly, and you guys come from similar eras, but clearly, that's a big deal. I mean, because it makes the sound. I think it makes the sound more original and better. Just my opinion.
No, it does. Well, it's just that harmonic distortion. Those boxes in front of it, the preamps that you use for your vocals and guitars and all that stuff. That really matters. And then digital is just a high quality medium to store that, record it, and preserve it, and it is better. And I see the workflow so much easier in that realm. With the digital audio workstations and all that stuff. It's just great.
Yeah, no, I totally. You're not going to get an argument from me on that because I think everything is over digitized, over processed, and Joe said this. He said, "It's too clean."
Right.
I remember.
Boy, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's too clean. He's, the beauty, yeah, no, the beauty, it was, the show Sessions, they do in
Yes,
this, right?
yes.
So it was
It's a great show.
it's a great show. And he was on Sessions and he was talking about just how it's just too clean. We were a little dirtier. I don't know if that's exactly where, but it was a little dirtier. We allowed the harmonics to come through, right? Because it wasn't exactly perfect, which is what you wanted, in the song. I mean, the reason I asked you the question, what do you think about today, with the DVDs and things like that, then when you guys wrote and played Eye of the Tiger, is I think the problem would have been too clean, because there's enough grunge and grind and dirt and harmonics in the song when it was released that makes that song.
Yeah, it's like an amp that sounds like it's about to explode. That's what I love most of all in the world.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's not so neat and pretty, and I think that's what makes the song beautiful. I really do. And of course you do an amazing job singing it, Dave. I mean, seriously, no one else could sing that song but you. Anybody else, I've listened to cover bands try to do you, they're awful. But
oh yeah,
well, it's a simple,
oh yeah. Me and Jay have heard plenty of musicians try to do that song, and they are exactly what the internet doctor said.
Sorry, I'm serious, man. You're the only one who could do it. I know that you went into the studio, but I'm just telling you, your vocals are iconic on that song, and you own it. I mean, you just do. You own it, and no one else. I've never been able to hear anybody who ever tried to do the song ever be able to do it well. And it's because you own it, and it's because you're the uniqueness of your voice and the character of your voice, and the passion that you have for the song and the emphasis that you put in certain words and phrases. So, I mean, to me, it's yours.
Well, thanks. I really appreciate that. I mean, I was just trying to do my job, that I always did in Survivor, which was to try to bring as, whatever I have to the song. And to make it have, make an emotional impact, so people will, stop and listen, So
yeah.
That's it. Really.
Yeah, you did. You did that. You absolutely did that, Dave. You did that to that song, and it's more. I get it. The music is great, but you bring something really special to the table with your vocals, and the emphasis and what you put into that song. I miss the beret. Honestly, I'll be real honest.
Yeah. Well, I try it out every once in a while. I do.
Yeah.
Once in a while somebody says, please, somebody will tell me, well, you wear the beret. So I do here and there. I had two of them. One of them disintegrated, and the other one I still.
That's awesome.
I wanted to throw that in so bad. I wanted to go, dude, really? No beret? What's up with that, man? I mean, you got to wear the.
Yeah, no, I promise I will. I will do it again. I will wear it again.
Dude, that was almost kind of like part of you. I mean, it was like you knew as soon as you saw the beret, you went, "Oh man, that's Dave Bickler." There's just no way. And then he heard you sing, and you go, "Oh, that really is Dave Bickler." Yeah, because you could wear the beret, but if you don't sound like Dave, you're not Dave. That's it, just it. That's all there was to it. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. It was unintentionally became a branding thing.
Dude,
well,
I mean. You're not bald, so I mean, nobody's asking you, hey, what's underneath that beret? So I mean, you're good there.
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, and it's really hot. I have to say too.
Oh well,
it is hot.
Oh, I bet on stage you lose several pounds in water weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always hot up there. It used to be even hotter. They have lights are mostly LED lights these days, so it's not quite, but it's still every time it's like, especially in a smaller place, or a smaller room or a club, it's hot. It's always hot on stage.
It's hot. It's hot. That's cool.
Well,
James,
as we wrap up here, Dave, run it down for us one more time. Website, social media, everything. Then we'll let you go, my friend.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, as I said, it's of course my website's davebickler.com. There's some stuff in there you can see, and like I say, you can hear a song, and you can hear where I'm going to be playing, and my Facebook page, Dave Bickler. Just type that in, and there I am. And like I said, send me a note, ask me a question, and I have an Instagram account, and I don't know how. That's mysterious to me. I think Twitter. I think it's the Survivor Dave is my Twitter thing. But that's you can reach me in all those places, and I'll try to respond if I can.
Fantastic.
You're awesome.
Well, before we let you go, Internet Doctor, how do we get a hold of you, sir?
Yeah. So latest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So the latest book just was released a couple of weeks ago. It's entitled "Lessons from the Farm: Essential Rules for Success." And so, if you want to see the latest book that's all over the market, it's out there, and it's really built for anybody. So if you want to see, there's 20 rules that I wrote out there on when I was raised on the farm in Nebraska that I carry into business today.
Wow.
And so they're really cool lessons that anybody can apply to their life. And so if you're looking for a little inspiration, a little motivation, just look for Lessons from the Farm, Essential Rules for Success by Jay Izzo. You can also find me because I coach executives and business people. It's called coachingmavericks.com. So if you're a maverick and you don't abide by the rules and you want to change this world, I can coach you through that. So it's called coachingmavericks.com, and you can certainly find me at Jay Izzo, and that's IZSO.com. And you can, of course, find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. I'm on all of these places all over the place. And listen to my podcast, thanks to James Lowe, Jiggy Jaguar, called A New Direction with Jay Izzo. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, and 100 other different places. And we are now in 16 countries downloading our show and listening to the show. So I'm very grateful for James, who got me started doing that. Didn't know it was a passion, and it became a passion. And so that's the best way to get a hold of me.
Fantastic. Well, it's been an honor and a privilege. Dave, you've been fantastic with your time. You've been fantastic with answering every single, a hard question and fan question that me and Jay have asked you today.
Oh, yeah, it was great talking to you guys. That was a joyful experience. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, man. And look for my Facebook friend request. And
I surely will. So I'll put your all these amazing stuff that you got going on here up on my page as well.
Yeah, I will. We'll chat. We'll private message each other. And we'll chat, and we'll see how we can help each other get that done.
Fantastic.
Well, thank you guys, and Dave, I appreciate it, and Jay, we'll talk to you soon. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep, thanks, Jay. Thanks.
All right, man.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys. Right. There they go, Jay Izzo and Dave Bickler from Survivor. Fantastic stuff. And that wraps it up here from our big broadcast, and we will see you next time.